Welcome to the Creepin' It Real show, your one-stop shop for weird news, spooky, otherworldly, and paranormal shenanigans. We'll take a dive into what's going on in creepy pop culture. You can follow us on Twitter at creepin_it and like us on Facebook at The Creepin' It Real Show. Do you have a paranormal story you'd like to share with us? You can email us at creepinitrealshow@gmail.com.
I think she's some weird hybrid space being because she is not either Rick or I. Jay is a mixture of both of us, so that means he's like the biggest pain in the ass ever. He's a doll, he's brilliant, and he's funny, and he's the hugest pain in the ass, where Madeline's like, she's just not. She's just laid back. She wants to please you. She gets upset if you get upset with her. Jay could give two shits if we're pissed off at him. He don't care. Like, you tell her no, even when she was a baby. I thought I was like the greatest parent in the world when she was a baby. I was like, I am the most amazing parent. And then I had Jay, and I was like, never mind. I suck. But anyway, we're recording. I started to record when I started talking about Madeline, so don't worry about you ripping on. I didn't include your rant.
About wanting to fucking
kill your 2-year-old on the side of the road. Which, Christ. Good God, can I name how many times I've wanted to leave my kids on the side of the road, even the good one, when she can still be an asshole sometimes. So I get it, but what you gonna do? You gave birth to him.
Yeah,
could have solved that beforehand, but no, I'm just kidding. I'm really being an asshole now, but reading all these news stories, just really that Texas wanting to introduce the death penalty to women who get abortions. I'm like, that means you're pro-life?
Well, by all means, though, men can just make a call and say they want a vasectomy and get it done.
Right. I mean, why aren't they getting the death penalty for knocking a chick up?
Yeah.
And then if you think that getting stopping abortions or outlawing abortions will stop them, why don't you think outlawing guns will stop guns? It's like, oh, well, they'll still keep getting guns, but let's outlaw abortion because they're not,
because nobody will have sex if abortion
getting and then getting a fucking back alley one. They were doing that in like the 1800s, 1900s. Like, really?
Well, it went so well. It was really good for people. They were healthy when they were doing that.
Yeah. They were sticking coat hangers up their crotches and, throwing themselves down the stairs.
You know
like,
what?
Really?
Who cares, Christy?
But they don't care.
Whores because they knocked themselves
Keep your
up
necks
and
closed.
then couldn't handle it. So.
That I read that comment today. I'm like, I got to click out of this. I'm about to go homicidal. Look, I am not for, like, I used to be semi-conservative growing up in the South. It's hard not to be. And I have friends that have had abortions. I wasn't a fan of it. They weren't a fan of it. It wasn't like, oh, yay, I'm pregnant, I got an abortion.
This is what I do for birth control instead of using condoms.
It was an accident. And
nobody does that, for fuck's sake.
No, they think we do. And then I got pregnant unplanned, and I had that option. And I'm like, you know what? I'm 25 years old, like 26. I'm all right. Like, I can handle this. But if I had been 17 when my friend did, like, good God. I mean, and by the way, she never had kids. Like, she went on to never have children. Like, she just couldn't do it. And so it's like, and never had another abortion, but just chose to never have kids. So it's not like she was like an irresponsible whore,
Just run around. It's crazy. Yeah.
It just, this was probably a very horrible topic to talk about on a podcast about horror, but it is slightly horrifying to see.
Killing people over that.
Killing people to keep them from killing people. Who, as long as they are respectable and white and not an immigrant, you're fine with them living in society, but otherwise you don't give a shit about them. So why do you give a shit about them in utero?
Let's start putting convicted rapists to death while we're at it.
Oh, shit. Pedophiles.
Yeah.
Rapists.
Oh, yeah.
Can we do that?
And on that note,
why don't we put men to death who masturbate if we really want to get to the key of the story?
Because they're men, Christy. Everyone knows how that works physically. No one knows what a clitoris is or how any of that works.
Well, now that we've spent 4 minutes losing half our fans, let's, I guess, get on to the welcome to the Creepin' It Real show. I am your host this week, Christy. Moni is here. Yardley is not. We had a couple of cancellations, and tonight he has one of his other podcasts he's doing. So he said, "Y'all go do it without me," and so that's what we doing. I'm happy to be here, and I'm excited about our topic, and I'm excited to talk to Moni. And I always feel like I miss doing the show. Like I miss it.
Yeah.
It's an outlet for me. It's nice to talk to you, and it's nice to discuss topics that I have an interest in, and it makes me really happy to see that other people are clearly interested in our topics because they download the show and they like it. So yay to us. I'm pretty excited about that.
I love this topic, and I'm glad we're doing it because before we hop into it, but just wanted to say I didn't want to miss the show because I listened to the Astonishing Legends on this topic.
Yes.
The black-eyed children.
A must listen to.
It scared the holy pee-pee out of me, which is hard to do with a mom bladder, but still.
I'm
excited because
that was one of the first real official breakdowns I had seen about the black-eyed kids, because you just don't see a lot of people talking about it like on mainstream. There's no movies. There's one that is apparently incredibly stupid. It has like 2 points on IMDb, so I was like not even going to put us through that.
No.
So
thank you.
There's no documentaries. There's like one, this person's asking for money to do it, but she seems not I don't really trust what she would throw out there.
Mm-hmm.
So it's kind of a obscure topic. I think it's finally kind of hit mainstream, and I can guarantee you there's going to be a mainstream movie about this in the next year or two. There has to be. Come on. If not, you and I need to get our asses sit down, make a script, and make this happen, because
trademark, bitches, we're doing this.
Yeah. Patent pending, patent pending, patent pending. You guys can't have it. Nope, it's ours now. Sorry. So anyway, we are going to talk about, the main topic is black-eyed kids. We're going to focus more on, and we're going to talk a little bit about what they are, but it's mainly going to be, because honestly, there's not a lot out there. What really are they? It's kind of a mystery. There's some theories, and we can go into our personal theories that we think is going on. A little bit about their behavior, but I really do think like the witness stories talk more about their behavior than anybody talking about it in like more of a report way. So that's why I thought the witness stories, the ones that I picked, there are so many out there. It's insane. Like I have read so many black-eyed kid stories. I freak the fuck out of myself, because what's happening now is people are claiming, and this could be just a complete hoax, like across the world. Just kidding. We're just trying to fuck with you. But they're saying now that it seems like that when you become educated about them, they make an appearance. I mean, they make an appearance with people that aren't educated about it. But some of the stories I've come across recently, it's like I just heard about this not a month ago, and then one showed up, like in an encounter. So that kind of freaked me out, because I'm like literally living and breathing it for 2 weeks, and I was watching something, and I can't remember what it was, but I just scared the shit out of myself, basically, like trying to read this, and then I was watching something that was freaky, and I was pretty creeped out. But so that really freaked me out when I started reading all those, because several people were saying that. I just read, and so then now people are saying, oh, well, it seems like the more you educate yourself on them, it almost like is an invitation for them to kind of show up.
Huh. So you're saying don't do the show right now. Like,
sorry, y'all turning us off. Everybody's like turning us off.
Click.
And because the weird part about it is a lot of times, I mean, the main piece is that they knock on the door, but sometimes they're just literally staring at you through the window, like seriously. And
those are your car or like whatever,
Or and those are the people that educated themselves. Like just recently heard about this, and sure enough, one shows up on my front porch. Didn't even knock on the door. They were just standing there. Nope. Or standing there staring in the window. So then I'm like sitting in my living room, and we never close our blinds or anything. And I'm like looking out my windows, like shit in my pants. It's like I'm gonna look up, and there's gonna be a black-eyed kid staring at me. Like I was totally freaked out. So anyway, well, let's do some weird news first, and then we will jump in. And this topic has a lot of reading. We're going to be doing a lot of storytelling in other people's words. So please excuse us, because it's a lot, and it's just two of us. So we're going to be probably like mentally drained by the end of this thing. So, Moni, what is your, Florida. I see Florida.
Yeah.
So I can't wait to read this.
So I don't know if you've heard, a lot of people that are listening probably have heard about this. It started about 2-3 weeks ago, the Florida Man Challenge.
Yeah, I tried doing mine and I couldn't do it. I don't know if I was doing it wrong or what, but they didn't really have a lot on my
I will
birthday.
do mine and you're going to laugh. Okay, hold on one second. So this story is minutes after being released from jail, a Florida man was arrested in the parking lot for breaking into cars.
In the jail parking lot?
Yeah.
Oh my God. Yeah.
Lewis was a free man for 15 minutes, not even leaving the grounds of the jail where he'd been locked up before being arrested again. The 37-year-old had been released from jail Thursday, blah, 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 blah. Grand theft charges, according to an arrest affidavit. Surveillance video showed him looking into cars and opening the door of a silver vehicle. He entered the vehicle from the driver's side, sat in the car for 2.5 minutes, exited, walked the length of the parking lot, checking more vehicles by either looking in windows or lifting door handles to see whether they were unsecured. And then he told an officer that he was waiting for his girlfriend. So yeah, he didn't even, let's see, they he had a brown paper bag and it was from one of the vehicles. It had an iPhone 7, 4 packs of cigarettes, a lighter, one Visa bank debit card. This was quite a haul. A Florida driver's license and $547 in cash.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, he was taken back inside the same jail that he had just come out of.
Damn.
No girlfriend came to pick him up. And he was released. Hold on. This is CNN, so it's not a hoax. A spokeswoman said he was released again the same day, but the deputies made sure a person was there to pick him up.
Wow.
So regarding the Florida Man Challenge, what you do is you go to Google and you type in your Florida Man and then your birth date. And what it gives you is a list of different news stories that are from your birthday. So when you put in Florida Man January 11th.
I did that, and mine wasn't good.
Oh, mine are amazing. Florida Man robs a store dressed as Spider-Man. Helicopter blade decapitates Florida Man. Florida Man chews up police car seat after cocaine arrest.
Wow.
Florida Man threatens to kill neighbors with machete that has a name. So, yeah, mine's pretty good. My husband's is pretty good. Some of them are a little sad, like, having sex with a child's corpse or something, which is not as cute at all. But it's still Florida Man.
My problem is there's a Florida Man Music Festival, and it took place on my birthday last year. So, like, all the news articles, like, are all advertising that. Like, I would have to scroll down so much to get into Blue Man Group tickets for, like, why do all the good stuff happen in Florida? There's Blue Man Group, and there's this it's actually called the Florida Man Festival. So I have to scroll through all this.
Yeah, that's not fun. That's way less fun.
I mean, I don't get any good stuff.
I'm sorry that Florida Man didn't fuck around enough on your birthday, Christy.
Mine, no. See, then these aren't even now. Like, after all of that, they move on to other dates. Like,
maybe their gift to you was that they don't commit crimes on your birthday.
Maybe it needs to be Florida woman. Have we ever thought of this? Let me just type in Florida woman. Everybody. And then now there's tons of articles about the Florida Man Challenge that you have to scroll through.
Yes.
Okay, here we go. Florida woman on November 30th.
Okay.
I'm clicking on it. Florida woman passes gas, pulls knife on offended man.
Now that's more like it.
That's better. So she farted. He got offended. She pulled a knife on him at the dollar store.
That's the kind of Florida we want.
That's better. All right.
Florida woman shot after performing sexual act for Pringles and $5,
Mm-hmm.
deputies say.
Those Pringles are fucking good. I'm just telling you. Which, by the way, when are we going to make prostitution illegal? Like, serious? I mean, legal. I mean, come on. This is ridiculous.
Yeah. Well, at the same time that we make abortion illegal. Anyway.
Right. God. Okay. Yeah. All my stuff is depressing. Florida woman missing in Costa Rica confirmed dead. Okay. Great.
Ew.
Mine
Go
aren't
down on me, baby, for
fun.
Pringles. What the fuck?
Why? Well, that's better than that. Like, why are mine not funny?
Doctor mistakenly removes Florida woman's kidney, which he thought was a tumor.
So here's the thing. Like, I know that we love to joke about Florida, and they are especially fucked up, but their laws down there are different. So every single thing that happens is open to the public. If that happened in California or if that happened in Georgia, there would be some crazy shit on the news. But because it's not legal to do that, then we only look at Florida and make fun of them. I think it's great, and I think probably for like tourism and shit, it's probably perfect and hysterical for them because they don't give a fuck anyway. So why not make them look like the worst state ever? And they are. It's weird because it's so many Northerners, you know, from there. The snowbirds go down there. And so that's like all these people from all over the nation and world, you know, because I mean, it's just it's a cultural mixing pot. So I can imagine some crazy shit goes on. But then when you also pass a law that every single thing arrest that happens is made public, that's like the greatest mix ever of shit. And well, my news isn't that interesting anymore because the news I'd picked out originally is perfect for next week's episode, Pet Cemetery. So I switched it over to that, and I was really excited because SpaceX was supposed to launch while we were doing the show. Well, it got delayed to Thursday, so now I'm pissed because there's high winds. So it was supposed to launch like now, like it would be launching right now. So I thought that'd be really cool to talk about it. I mean, we can still talk about it, but it would literally be going into outer space while we're talking. But anyway, so if anybody doesn't know, the Falcon Heavy Mega Rocket, the most powerful booster currently in use, is set to launch at the Airbase 6A Communications satellite orbit from NASA's Kennedy Space Center in Florida Thursday at 6:35 p.m. So they've moved it to the same, because it was originally set for 6:35 and it got delayed a couple of times and then they canceled it. The company postponed a Wednesday launch try due to unacceptable atmospheric wind shear conditions. So this is kind of exciting. You know, I think if the government decided they didn't want to pay for space, why not some billionaires do it, you know? And Elon Musk is crazy enough to do it. So thank you, Elon, even though you are in a weird phase right now. I'm trying not to hate you, but you're just acting really weird, and it's kind of creeping me out. So
it's a weird phase for sure.
He's definitely in that. He's in that dude's phase that's in prison now. The one that bought like the Wu-Tang Clan album and shit like that. He's in that phase, and I hope he makes it through without going to prison because I think initially he's a decent dude. He's just a billionaire. So what are you gonna do? You know, his cars are awesome. He's got great cars. He's got great ideas. I invested in his battery company that he bought, and I did very well with it. And I appreciate his wanting to change technology into a more earth safe thing. And I appreciate him taking on the space exploration since our government apparently doesn't want to, but he's acting really weird now. So he needs to stop doing that. So anyway, by the time you guys hear this, it's probably already have happened or maybe about to happen. I'll try to get this posted tomorrow if I can. My work isn't absolutely fucking crazy right now, but I will make an effort to post it tomorrow so you can hear it and be reminded to listen or to watch at 6:35 when it launches. So, all right, well, we gonna move into some black-eyed chitlins. Let me see. I'm really excited about this topic. I'm clicking onto my document now. Black-eyed children. What are they? Well, that's your own interpretation, but a very persuasive and bizarre area of the unexplained that has grown in recent years is the phenomenon of what are called black-eyed kids, black-eyed children, or simply BEKs. When compared to other paranormal entities, black-eyed children are a fairly new occurrence. The first real recorded story of someone coming into contact with a black-eyed kid was in 1996. Not a lot is known about them, and there is few theories floating around about what they could be. Alien. Also, there's the alien hybrid. Like,
Like of human?
Yeah, some other people were
Oh.
thrown out, which I wrote in here, but I didn't. They think I don't think they're aliens. Now, the alien hybrid theory is interesting to me. Um, Demons
Yes.
or from another dimension
Yes.
or infected, which I find this one very off, but it's out there and I think it's worth a mention. Infected with a contagion only children can catch. So I don't know
Interesting.
what kind of contagion that would be to make their eyes turn black, but they're saying like children, almost like an evil contagion versus like a disease, almost like a, I don't know how you call, almost like a, I just watched Venom for the first time, which I really liked. It was kind of
Oh,
cheesy.
yeah.
It's kind of cheesy, but I thought it was good and I like him. Almost kind of like that, but for children, I guess, like something that can latch on to them because they're more open and susceptible to accepting things more than adults are. Kind of theory is what they were kind of explaining. So the contagion isn't exactly like a disease, but but like an evil, like latch, like a venom type style thing.
Interesting.
So
like a parasite or something.
Yeah, kind of. Yeah, that was kind of what they were saying. But in a celestial type way, in a weird, almost I would think kind of like an alien. Yeah, I mean, or a demon or something, like something we just otherworldly don't understand. But
yeah, and we'll get into this as we read these stories. The other dimension thing, I really feel like it could be, but then when you hear they seem like they have such bad intentions. I feel like another dimension would be just as fucking confused as we are. So I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, I am a little bit more at my personal, I mean, we can talk more about it after we read the stories, but I'm more inclined to believe either the alien hybrid thing or the demon type thing. But something that we just don't quite understand. Like maybe we would classify as a demon, but it just the visceral reaction every single person describes when they come into contact with these people just doesn't fit them just being some other being. Like just because they're not from here, why I don't personally believe that every being that's not from Earth is bad. Like I just don't see it that way. So I just can't wrap my brain around the fact that it's an alien. Now an alien hybrid, maybe, like, I don't know. I don't know if if it was the wrong alien, but the demon angle, I'm kind of feeling it's more of like a spiritual thing.
And that's what was presented as one of the many things on the Astonishing Legends podcast, was that it feels like these kids are being sent as in groups by someone or something else. Yeah. Like they're being groomed to do whatever they're trying to do. So
yeah, I almost feel like they're demons in kids' clothes. That because sometimes they're off by like a generation or so in their manner of speaking or their clothing. They just don't quite fit in, and you can tell even before you notice the eyes. You can tell, not even with the feeling, but just by the look of them, something's not right. And then you get that feeling, which I always call the gift of fear, because
and there's usually an odor, right? Also with them?
Not every time, but there have been instances. That not, I don't, maybe it just wasn't something they were noticing, because when you're that scared, I think some of your senses just, you're not noticing that piece because you're so in tuned with the other things that are going on. But yeah, so I mean, as many stories that I've read, I'm really struggling with not believing this. Like I'm not seeing, and judging from whatever crazy ass alternative timeline we've dived into, I mean, this shit ain't few and far to be not to be believed. I mean, let's be honest. I really do think we've ended up in some crazy ass alternative reality by this point. So I request us
right off of this reality.
Yeah, I request us to get back on the highway into the right timeline, because damn. Anyway, all right, well, I'll continue. They are described as pale skin, robotic, and exude a sense of menace and dread. Kids aged from 9 to 16, but that's debatable. There's been some stories of some older kids or even adults. with otherwise normal physique and behavior, but completely out of the world eyes. Their eyes without any distinguishable pupil, iris, or sclera, I might just butchered that, sorry, are pitch black, something like the evil entities from Grudge, the movie. So here's what I want to say. Sometimes when I'm reading these, and I don't know if I included one of them or not, I might have just as an example. Sometimes they say they don't have eyes, they have holes for eyes. Now, I think that that's something entirely different. I almost think that's like a spirit. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
You know what I'm
Yeah,
talking about?
it did. It sounded like something different.
Because this is almost like those alien eyes that you hear about that are just all black. It's an eye and it's glassy and it's existing, but it's just black where all the other things of our eyes usually are. Where some of these stories are, there were no eyes, there were holes. Okay, that's not to me a black-eyed kid. Like that just doesn't, that sounds like a
No.
spirit to me.
I don't
So
know
anyway,
what that is, but we don't like it.
yeah. I mean, spirits, I mean, I mean, even when they're scary looking, I can't say that they're evil, where these are evil. And some of this, like the ones that are talking about like the black holes for eyes are like, it happened and it was weird, but it wasn't like they were trying, it was scary looking, and it was scary that this was happening, but there wasn't really like the intentions that these kids have wasn't there. So I immediately wrote those off, and I might have put one in there, I might not have, I can't remember, because I've slept since then. And I'm on this new diet, and it's basically I'm starving myself and drinking wine. So my brain cells are probably like, what's happening right now? I don't know. But anyway, I'm being a little dramatic, but not really. So they appeared either normal or a bit old-fashioned clothes, are said to speak in a tone too mature for their age. For some reason, witnesses report feeling an inexplicable fear in their vicinity even before noticing their diabolical eyes, and are mostly found fleeing the scene immediately. The children allegedly used some low-level hypnotism, for people often report unconsciously letting them into their property right before noticing their eyes and thereby fleeing. Oops.
Nice. Oh, that's me now. Yeah, it is.
Sorry, I'm trying to move the photo because
so
it got in the
what's
way.
that?
I noticed the photo cut out, but anyway, we're good now.
Oh, are we going to be okay?
Yep. You're
so rolling into the stories, these are scary. So the first reported incident on a spring or summer evening in 1996, Bethel was making his way to his internet service provider, Camelot Communications office on this is very specific, North First Street in Abilene, Texas, to pay off his bills. As he innocently scribbled on a check in the dimly lit area in front of the theaters, intending to drop it into the office's drop slot, little did he know that this would be his most frightening night ever. He was seated in his car at the parking lot when two boys, aged 9 to 12, came knocking at his window. The boys, as he described them, were somewhat suave, olive-skinned, curly-haired young man, and the second one was a red-headed, pale-skinned, freckled young man. The boys wore hooded pullovers. The first boy explained that the two of them had come to watch the premiere of Mortal Kombat at the theater, but had forgotten their money in their mother's house. They therefore requested a ride to their mother's house to fetch their money and get back to the theater. All the while as the conversation ensued, Bethel was consumed by an irrational fear. The boy tried to convince him with assurances like it wouldn't take long. They were just two little kids. They didn't have a gun or anything. Bethel subconsciously reached out to open his car door when he suddenly broke his vision of the boy and came to notice the coal-black eyes he described as the sort of eyes one sees these days on aliens or bargain basement vampires on late-night television. Soulless orbs like two great swaths of a starless night. Trying to keep his behavior normal, Bethel muttered a few excuses, pulled at the gear, and rushed away with his car. He stared at the rearview mirror. He found that the children had just vanished within seconds. Bethel's incidents had allegedly taken place between 9:30 and 10 p.m. that night, an incident he could never forget. He began sending private emails to a trusted few about his experiences, but soon his story spread like wildfire on the internet. Thus, the personal experience of the famed journalist was soon shared by thousands of others, some legit, some fake, but enough for BEKs to be regarded as a modern paranormal phenomenon.
Yeah. And so, as we were talking about earlier, this is the one of the main stories that Astonishing Legends talks about, and they have him on the show, and he does talk about it. And it's, I mean, they're so Astonishing Legends. Sometimes I love that they're thorough, and then sometimes
it bores the
they
shit out of me.
just split hairs upon hairs upon hairs.
Yes.
And I'm like, dear God, get to the subject. And I know they do that because they want to cover every basis, and I respect the hell out of them for doing that.
Yes,
but
absolutely.
I just personally can't handle that sometimes. But
No.
with the Black Eyed Kids, I was
Hooked.
glued
Yeah.
to my stereo
Yes.
every second of the show. It was amazing. They did did a fantastic job doing this, and they interviewed other people also who had Black-eyed kid experiences. A lot of them are in Texas, which I found interesting, and California. And then you get a few of them kind of peppered in like small town, rural, like Midwest. And then like, I mean, they're everywhere, but a lot of them coming forward seem to be in Texas and California. So, hey, Moni,
Wonderful.
shout out to you. But I just did read one that was in the Deep South. And in fact, I think I have it on here, but, so anyway, we'll move on to the next one. This one's called Trick or Treat. This really freaked me out. This is her telling the story. Yesterday, I noticed my neighbor hadn't put out all his Halloween decorations, lights, etc. The past 2 years I've lived next to him, he's gone all out for Halloween. I don't know him well. He's younger, single, but I know he likes kids, not in a creepy way. His brother and sister-in-law and their kids are always visiting him, and he plays with his 3 young nieces and nephews out in the yard. So anyway, I got home from work and was walking up my driveway, and I saw him outside and said something like, "Hey man, you better get your Halloween stuff up, or that house up the street's going to beat you for best decorations." He kind of smiles sheepishly and says that he's actually going to keep his house dark this year and just put candy out. I asked if he was going out of town, but he said no, something happened last year that really scared him. Now, I was concerned for my own safety if some weirdos are coming around the neighborhood, which is a pretty safe neighborhood with tons of young families living here. So I asked him, what happened? He said last year he had his brother's family over so they could trick or treat in the neighborhood since they live in an apartment complex that doesn't do much for Halloween. He had a bunch of kids come to the door like always. His family took off around 10:30 and there were only a few older trick-or-treaters, but by 11:30 they were pretty much done. That's normal, yeah. So he was inside watching TV and the doorbell rings. He grabs the candy bowl and heads over, noticing that it's a little past midnight, and that's pretty rude for trick-or-treaters to still be out, but then notices he hasn't turned off all his decoration lights yet, so his house is all lit up in a beacon. He swings the door open and is about to yell, "Boo!" or something to freak them out, but stops dead when he sees the kids at the door. He said one was probably around 13 or 14 and the other around 16, 17, both boys, which a lot of times they are boys. They weren't dressed up, but he remembers the older one was wearing a flannel checkered shirt. He was immediately overcome with uneasiness, like opening the door was a huge mistake. They just stared at him, and he noticed they had really big irises and dilated pupils. He couldn't even see the whites of their eyes, so he figured they were contact lenses. He was frozen there holding the candy bowl, like he couldn't slam the door in their face as much as he wanted to.
So he nervously tried to smile at them, hoping they would break character and ask for candy or something. The younger one said that they had gotten lost and needed to come in to use the phone. That was when he closed the door more than halfway on them and said, "No, sorry." And the older one said something like, "Can we just wait at your house until our parents come get us?" But by then he was convinced that his life was in danger and these kids must be high on something or intending to rob him, so he just kept mumbling, "No, sorry, good night." As he entered the door closed and he locked it. He told me he was so fucking scared at that point that they were going to try to break in through one of his windows or something that he looked through the peephole and they had turned to leave. He watched TV with the volume on really low so he could hear all the sounds And he stayed up until like 5 a.m. because he was too scared to go to bed and drop his guard. The whole time he's telling me this, I'm thinking, oh my God, this sounds familiar, just like the Black Eyed Kids urban legend. But I thought, hey, maybe this dude is trying to scare me because, after all, he does love the Halloween spirit. So I'm looking at him incredulously, but trying not to seem too gullible. So I'm like, man, that is really crazy. Sounds like the Black Eyed Kids. He just stared at me blankly. The what? Is that a movie or something? And I said no, but I told him to go look it up online. Like an hour later, I get a knock on my door and admittedly almost jump out of my skin thinking it's a demon child. It was my neighbor, and his eyes were freaking huge, but not black, at least.
Yeah.
He swears to me up and down that he had never heard of the BEKs before, and it's so similar to what happened to him. We talk a while longer, and I told him that quite a few people will probably know about the urban legend, and it's possible it's just teenagers with black scleral contacts trying to freak people out on Halloween, which would be genius, by the way. But he said the fear he felt was so primal that came over him the second that he opened the door.
Yeah. That's some crazy
Yeah.
shit right open the
Sorry,
door.
I'm limping through this shit. I've had no voice, and I'm like still choking.
I know. That's why I'm like, are you sure you want to do this? If I need to read
I
a
just gotta
little
keep it
more,
lubricated with booze. Yeah, it's
if
all
I
good.
want to read a little more, let me know.
Okay.
I am hearing feedback though on my voice.
Is it all about that bass?
It's like I can hear myself through your echo through your thing. I don't know.
Do I have to put the headphones on? I really don't want to.
Can you turn me down a little bit?
Yeah, you were really low earlier. Let me see. For me over here, but I think my husband's been fucking around with this thing. You want to try to talk again?
Yes, I will talk again.
And I can hear your TV a lot, by the way.
My TV? I don't have
or
TV.
some kind of sound in the background, like talking.
Me here. Hold on. We're gonna do a timeout here. Hold on.
Time out. That's what it was. Yep. As soon as you opened the door, I heard it more. Yep.
Why did I go out there? I swear to God. You think it gets any better after there too? Well, you're wrong. We have the cleaning ladies.
Scream at you, so that's good.
Well, I'm screaming at him. He's lucky I didn't lose my ever-loving shit on him. I just took his phone and said the F word. He's lucky.
I did hear that. It was amazing.
Good. Well, good.
Good job.
I started cussing at them like a year ago. I'm like, you're 13, you're 16. It's time to cuss. And it feels wonderful.
They just know they're not allowed to say that stuff.
Well, you're not cussing at them. Like I cussed when they were younger, but not at them. Now I cuss at them. Now it's like, whenever you choose to do that, it's your journey, and I don't judge. I'm just personally happy and relieved that I'm cussing at them. It feels good.
Little creep, hi. My Shiba Inu just emerged from under the bed, but he comes out all flat, and he looks like some kind of nightmare creature coming out from under the bed. Hi, cutie.
Okay. Are we ready to get started again?
Yes,
He was
ma'am.
watching baseball. That's why, I mean, I couldn't hear it, but because I have my headphones on. So, okay. Next story. No.
You won't be calling anybody who is where you are.
You won't be fucking calling anybody, bitch.
Neither will your son. Ha!
That's right, bitch. That little, oh my God, his room, first of all, it stinks like a boy.
You.
And it's just nasty. But anyway, let's move on.
Hi, baby.
The incident took place about 13 years ago. I had just moved to a new city with my wife. We were small town newlyweds from the Midwest. We moved cross country to one of the biggest cities in the Southwest so I could attend graduate school. I'm thinking this is Dallas. Being naive, because Southwest, biggest city in the Southwest, that's Dallas. Being naive and new to city living, I habitually answered the door without a second thought. Never again after this. The first thing that should have tipped me off to the peculiarity, why does he got to put in a big word, of the situation was the fact that someone was knocking at 6 a.m. Yeah, dude, I would never answer my door at 6 a.m. Are you crazy? It's what Ring is for. By the way, these poor black-eyed kids, they're screwed now that Ring exists.
Yeah. I was going to get them on video too. They're going to be like, what's that?
Yeah, I mean, if you don't start getting them on video now, then this ain't real. That's all I'm saying.
Right. Word.
Or they know what rings are and they just go somewhere else. But anyway, moving on. The second thing that should have dawned on me is this kid had to reach over a rather tall patio gate to unlatch and open it. Okay. The knock at the door was startling. My wife and I were getting ready for work, a pretty normal routine. The moment I opened the door, I was overtaken with an unexplicable sense of fear, which is in every single one of these stories. So that's just really interesting to me. To this day, I can picture him. Teenager, average height, average build, knee-length black leather coat, short black hair, and sunglasses. The sunglasses at 6 a.m. struck me as odd, and even more odd, he was eating an apple. That's weird. He's trying to come across like wholesome, right? He's like, here I have this apple.
He's like, I'm just a kid with an apple.
I'm just a normal boy who eating an apple.
Go to Satan with me.
Nothing to see here. He was very polite and asked if he could come in and warm up. I said no, closed the door and slid the security chain into place. A moment later, another knock. I opened the now chain door, and before I could speak, he asked if he could come in and warm up. No, I reply, and attempted to close the door. Before the door could shut, he put his hand out, stopping the door on its hinges. What the fuck? He looked directly into my eyes, still wearing his sunglasses, and said, "Can I at least get some ketchup for my apple?"
Oh,
what?
Bye. Bye, girl. Bye.
Fuck that, I reply, albeit a little confused. Get the hell out of here. My wife is calling the police. He takes a moment to let this information sink in, lowers his glasses, revealing eyes as black as obsidian, and says, "No, you won't be calling anybody." At that moment, I force the door closed, lock it, and call out to my wife. She is scared shitless, hiding in the bedroom. All jacked up on adrenaline, I rip the curtains back to look out the window next to the door. He's gone. Absolutely no trace of him. I go out on the patio and check the gate. It's still latched from the inside. That was fucked up, I think to myself as I turn to enter the house and notice a half-eaten apple lying on the ground.
No.
This is crazy. No. Hey, if you need me to take over any of this, let me know. I can, okay? Like if you can't.
Sweet snap, but this one's creepy. So I let the black-eyed children inside my house, and I'm surprised and happy that this person has lived to tell the story.
She lived. Yeah.
She lived. I made the mistake of letting the black-eyed kids inside, and now I'm worried that I might die because of it. Well, she's worried she might die. I hope this will be a warning to everyone who is ever in the position to make the same mistake that I did. I lived just outside of a rural town in Vermont. It's a tight-knit community where everyone knows one another and people don't lock their doors at night. Yeesh. There's never been any need to. A little over a year ago, I woke up because I heard a loud banging on my front door. At the time, my husband and I lived in a small home on a dirt road just off a rural route in town. It was in the middle of a snowstorm and the nearby hills get very slippery in the snow, so I thought someone might have been in an accident or broken down it's happened before. So when I look out the window, I could see out our motion spotlight was on. I could see that there were footprints in the snow that had come from our road and into our driveway. There was no car anywhere. The snow was still covering the road, and no one had driven on it for the last at least a couple hours. Our front door was obscured from the window, but I could see that someone was standing there. I wasn't sure what to think, so I woke my husband up just to feel safer. While I was telling him what was going on, the banging on the door, thank you to my dog for scratching himself and providing banging sounds.
Yeah.
You're a spooky little boy. Started again, and my husband went to answer it while I stood in the hallway. When he opened the door, there were two children standing in the snow looking toward the ground. They were a boy and a girl and could not have been more than 8 years old. They were dressed strangely and had odd haircuts. The girl's hair was very long and straight, and the boy had a dated haircut that looked almost like a bowl cut. They weren't dressed for winter, and my first thought was that they must have been Mennonite children, but as far as I know, there was never a large community of Mennonites near us.
Thinking back on it, I know that my normal reaction to seeing children in a snowstorm would have been to rush them inside, bundle them up with some blankets and hot cocoa. But that's not how it felt. The children were very unnerving. They would not make eye contact, and when my husband asked them if everything was okay, they asked if they could come in. My husband looked at me like, "What do I do?" And I asked the kids where their parents were. "They'll be here soon," is all they said. It was around 2 o'clock in the morning at this point, so the only reasonable thought in my head was that there must have been an accident or these kids got lost. It's so fucking crazy. Like, how
Yeah.
do you put two and two together like that? Like, that doesn't even make sense at 2 o'clock in the morning. But
No.
as much as my instincts told me not to bring them inside, I did it anyway. I went to
Yeesh.
the kitchen to make them some hot cocoa while my husband took them into the living room. While I was fixing the kettle, I could hear my husband talking to the kids. He was asking if they were okay, where they came from, how far they walked, if their parents' car was broken down, things like that. But they would always answer, "Our parents will be here soon."
That's not a good sign either.
And they spoke it in a sing-songy voice. "Our parents will be here soon."
No.
No.
No, thank you. I don't want to meet their parents, thanks.
They weren't afraid to be in a stranger's home at all. I started to notice that our cats, we have 4, good God, were all hiding except Pigeon, who was in the kitchen with me. Normally, our cats are very curious and friendly, and we have to be careful that they don't run out the door when we leave. This time, none of them even tried to see who was in here, which I thought was very strange. All the hair on Pigeon's neck was standing up and his tail was puffed out when he looked at the living room. When I bent down to pet him and see what was wrong, he hissed and started growling and backing up until he had hid himself under the kitchen island. I've never seen him do that before.
When I walked back into the living room, the kids were sitting on the couch, as still as can be, but my husband was holding his head in his hands. I asked him what was wrong, and he just said that he felt very dizzy all of a sudden, but that he was fine. I turned back to the children to give them their cocoa, but when they looked at me, I gasped. It took everything inside of me not to drop the mugs and run away. When they looked at me, their eyes were completely black. They had no whites, just giant black pupils. When they saw that I was scared, they stood up and asked if they could use the bathroom. I tried to be as composed as I could and showed them down the hall. They went to the bathroom together, and I hurried back to my husband to ask if he had seen their eyes. He had seen them too and said that it looked like his brother's badly bruised eyes after a car accident. We were in the middle of talking about whose children they could be when my husband's nose started to bleed. He'd never had nosebleeds as long as I'd known him. I just knew inside myself that this had something to do with the kids in the bathroom, and I started crying while I ran to my husband to get my husband some tissues. That's when the power went out. Jesus Christ, can you imagine?
This right here could be a horror movie. This right here.
Stuck in the house
That's
with
it.
these kids.
Yeah, and the power goes out and your husband's nose is
It's
bleeding.
like a cliche. That's horrible.
Holy
though.
shit.
I heard my husband yell my name from the living room, and as I started to walk through the hallway, I stopped dead in my tracks. The two children were standing at the end of the hallway. They weren't moving, and I have never been so scared in my whole life. They just stood there in the dark. After what felt like forever, the boy said, "Our parents are here." And they walked to the door, opened it, and walked out, leaving it wide open. My husband jumped up to go close it and almost fell over. We looked out the window and saw two men standing by a black car idling at the end of our driveway. The men looked like they were wearing black colored suits and were very tall, at least 6 feet. When my husband waved at them, they just stared at us, got into the car, and drove off. Our power came on about half an hour later, and nothing was the same. But nothing was the same after that.
Which is also another common thing, the black men in suits, which is interesting because
That's
Men in
weird.
Black is a whole other who you would tie into aliens. So
Mm-hmm.
that's why I almost wonder if it's like an interdimensional alien demon, like are demons and aliens like maybe that's kind of an intermixed thing. Does that make
Or a
sense?
government experiment.
Yeah. I mean,
Where,
something
black
weird. Yeah,
men in
something's
black are taking them around to see what they do.
well, they're clearly doing some damage when you actually let them in. So,
yeah.
over the next few months, 3 of our cats went missing. We can only assume that they ran away somewhere and never came back. But the worst thing was coming home to find Pigeon in a puddle of blood in the living room floor. He looked like he had been vomiting blood. The vet told us he had some kind of hemorrhage. After my husband's nosebleeds became a regular occurrence, we went to see the doctor. He didn't know what to make of it other than dry nasal passages. But my husband was diagnosed with an aggressive skin cancer.
Oh, that's terrible.
When the doctor asked us if he used tanning beds, we both thought he was joking. But apparently, this is a kind of melanoma that is linked to overuse of indoor tanning. Another very common occurrence, by the way, when you're exposed to aliens.
To get weird cancers,
It's
basically.
to get these skin cancers that would be associated to tanning. The doctors think he will recover, but don't understand how he got bad so quickly. My husband has never worked an outdoor job and spends relatively little time in the sun. Since we let the black-eyed kids in our home, I've also suffered from regular dizzy spells and nosebleeds on a regular basis. I've had other issues, which I won't mention here, but trust me when I say that I am suddenly in the worst condition of my life and no one can do anything about it. When she started telling this story, I didn't add it because it was an outside comment to the audience of the people that posted it. And then this is her telling the story, but she thinks she's dying. Like she thinks that she's dying. Like she thinks her body is literally dying.
Terrible.
I mean, she's just really freaking out and she didn't want to go into all the details. She said she wanted to keep it private, but she does think that she's dying. So I think that is crazy. I mean, not crazy like she's crazy. I just find it insane that this could happen with such a short amount of exposure of allowing these kids inside. But of course, it's going to get worse as we go down. She says, I know that all of this is because I let the black-eyed children into my home. We've told everyone we could about the strange kids that showed up that night, but no one else saw them, and some laugh at how scared we were of the Mennonite kids, but we know what we saw. I wish my husband had never opened the door. Feel free to publish this as a warning to others about black-eyed kids. My advice would be to lock your doors, call the police, and wait for morning. Don't make the same mistake I did. Now, what was I going to say? Feel free to publish this as a warning to others about black-eyed kids. Yeah, I mean, I think that makes sense. I mean, she's just trying to warn everybody. I had something really good to say and I lost it. It's what happens when you're old. But anyway.
Well, you had mentioned the gift of fear, and I want to reiterate that to listeners because whether you're dealing with something paranormal, supernatural, whatever or not, yesterday I was in an encounter, and this happens pretty regularly, where someone was passed out and needed medical attention. This person happened to be in their car, and the car was running, and they were slumped over, and we could not get her to respond. And we were yelling in the window right next to her ear. And one of the things I could have done in the situation was open the door and, lay her out on the pavement and try to see what was going on. And I've helped other people in different capacities. I had a bad feeling about this. And this is just a very small example comparative to black-eyed children type of stuff.
Right.
But I was spooked, and I couldn't tell you why. Because like I said, I deal with this stuff all the time. And I was like, you know what? Like what this lady's saying about calling the police, there's a point where you can still help someone else without putting yourself in danger.
Yeah.
And that's what you should always strive for. So if you see something weird, even if they're small children, if they're out in a storm that seems kind of dangerous and you just feel weird about it, you've called the police, you're not heartless, you've done your diligence. There's no sense in putting your family in danger for whoever, like real living people that might be following them when maybe these kids are a lure, like we need help. And then some man jumps out of the shadow and robs your family. Like you don't
Yeah.
know.
Yeah.
And if you feel weird about it. So what ended up happening in this situation was I was standing right next to her car and I had a feeling I shouldn't stand behind her car. I had a feeling I shouldn't open her door. Sure as shit, the woman pops up without even looking behind herself and just floors it in reverse. And had I opened the door or been standing there, she would have just taken me right on out.
Yeah. Yeah.
So, take the gift of fear for what it is. Don't try to be polite. You're not heartless for taking care of yourself first. It means you get to stay alive to help someone else another day.
Totally. And that book, The Gift of Fear,
Yeah.
is really eye-opening. And it's actually written by like a private detective or something. It's not he's legitimately saying every living being is born with a gift of fear, like a deer or,
Yes.
but we are programmed through our lives to ignore it for political society, like to be like when somebody gets in an elevator with you and you feel uncomfortable and you tell yourself, oh, don't be ridiculous, that you're just, being over dramatic. No, we have inherent senses installed in us that were God-given gifts that we have been taught to ignore. And that's a big problem, like as humans, like we are taught to not be scared
And for
of people.
women in particular, you
Yes.
want to be polite. This guy is a little weird, but you don't want to be rude. It's better to be rude than to be dead or hurt, and that's it. So,
Yeah. So I would recommend that book on a, I mean, it's not paranormal. It's he's very scientific about it. And he describes, living beings and every other animal that's alive besides humans have it. We have it, but we are kind of trained through our lives to ignore it. So I just thought it was really interesting. And I think that these people's gift of fear is so overwhelming because these things are so off the chain bad that not even their own little inner voices at times can tell them that it's okay not to, don't be ridiculous. There's just too many weird warning signs and bad vibes onto them that you can't ignore. So don't ignore it, even if it's a kid. And I think that's why they're kids. I mean, it's the perfect way to infiltrate
that need to
people.
nurture to help.
Yeah,
to
protect,
save.
help. I mean, what other besides puppies? Pretty soon we're going to be having black-eyed puppies running around because who's going to ignore a puppy on your doorstep?
I'd let them eat
Me
me.
too.
Like
Everybody.
whatever.
Like,
So
how have they
cute.
not thought of this? Seriously, they're stupid.
For sure.
But anyway, okay, so
the final story. My friend died after meeting the black-eyed children.
Okay, yeah, you're right. Sorry, go. My bad. I'm like, really? Is this your turn already? I thought you just went, but I was trying to help you because I thought maybe
having too much fun.
I mistagged your names because I had Yardley's names in here, so then I had to go in and take his names out. So I thought maybe I accidentally messed it up, but no, you go, girl. And this one's in California.
Oh, good.
So,
I got you, Holmes.
Mm-hmm.
My friend died after meeting the black-eyed children and their caretaker. I do not want to meet their caretaker. My friend took a road trip to see a friend near Arcata, California. They visited, said their goodbyes, and he stopped by a bar to have a drink before going to his hotel for the night. The bartender was a beautiful woman, and my friend was extremely attractive. And she served him and chatted and smiled. After a few more drinks, the woman told him he could stay at her place. Oh, I bet. She said to leave his car and she would drive him back the next day, as her place was hard to find and somewhat remote. He took her up on it.
Mm-hmm.
He told me later, I would too. Anyway, he told me later that he began to be very fearful when they arrived at her home. She took him to her room and, of course, the inevitable sexual experience.
Mm-hmm.
He said that he was actually frightened of her.
Sorry.
What's that?
Go ahead. I was just making sexual porn sounds.
He said he was actually frightened of her then as well, which kinky, as she was not acting normal and sounded almost inhuman in a way.
My husband would be like, hell yeah.
I like it when you
weirdo.
growl,
yeah.
After laying in bed for a while, the woman had fallen asleep and he got up to get water from the kitchen. As he was walking to the sink, he saw numerous small, frightening looking children walking to and fro about the place. It was a large two-story house. He wondered what they were doing up at 2 and 3 a.m. and if they had school the next day. He also said that they looked at him with completely black eyes and he was terrified of them, that he had a horrible feeling about them. It turns out that the woman owned the bar, and she did return him the next day. She forced him out, and he had to walk to the highway. Lovely. That's just a bad one night stand. I met up with him a week or two later, and he seemed perfectly fine, if a little frazzled. About a month later, this extremely healthy, athletic individual was diagnosed with bladder cancer, and no medication or treatment would impact his decision. He believed it was directly related to the experience with the black eyed children in Arcata. He died about 6 months after his diagnosis.
Yeah. So
Yikes.
that happened.
I feel like that's a metaphor, sort of like It Follows. Remember that one?
It is
That
kind of
movie?
like It Follows, yeah.
Yeah, where it's like the whole metaphor for STDs or whatever is like what you do will follow you.
This or is what you do will kill you.
Yeah.
Who you do will kill you.
What you
I
do.
mean, in a sense, this kind of makes sense because if you think back on the dad that the guy that let the kids in, he didn't have sex, but just the exposure gave
Yeah.
him skin cancer.
So
Now,
you're saying the penetration gave him bladder cancer.
yes, that's what I'm saying. I'm glad you put 2 and 5 together
In my elegant,
to
eloquent way.
to equal 3. You got it.
Yes,
You did it.
I
Did
got
you
it.
did it?
Good. Smart blonde.
So I mean, what do you think they are? I mean, I have my beliefs. I think we've discussed it. We're probably close to the same page. Well, first of all, do you think these stories are real?
I do. I don't know if just listening to this podcast tonight would convince me, but listening to the whole Astonishing
Yeah,
Legends thing,
yeah.
I swear I listened to something else about it at some point as well. I educated myself, and there's so many details. There's so many consistencies between different stories of people who don't even know each other.
Yeah.
And if they're real, I do feel like this is something supernatural and malicious, whether it's actual demons or whether they're sent by demons or whether it's like some kind of demi demon where it's like not a full demon. Maybe they haven't earned their stripes yet. I don't know.
Demon
But there
alien
is,
hybrid?
yeah, I can see that with the radiation being like a
That's
piece
the
of
weird
evidence to
thing.
that.
Like, there's a lot of alien signs of
Yeah.
this, but it seems evil now, and that's kind of an interesting thing that I don't think people have put together, but I think will be coming at some point. Is religion and actually supernatural things could actually be one and sort of the same,
Yeah, absolutely.
because we
I
have
would
no clue
lean
what the
more
fuck's
towards
going on.
spiritual
Yeah.
than um oh my God, than Alien. Only just because I feel like aliens study us more. And yes, that can cause like cancers or different things when you're being exposed. But I just kind of feel like people's reactions to this vary in a way that's more like our body can't handle what we're being exposed to, whatever malicious evilness, whatever, I'm not really sure. Not very
See,
articulate, but that's
and
what I
for
think.
me, I agree with you, but I think on the other hand, I think if it was like an evil alien being that
Uh-huh.
we are inherently afraid of, but that is trying to, because the big conspiracy theory that when the aliens crashed back in the day, and we apparently, conspiracy theory, by the way, we made contact with aliens and we agreed to let them abduct a few here and there, and we turned blind eye to having alien technology, which is what's got us where we are with wireless and all the shit that we have
Yeah.
now. That's the big conspiracy theory out there. And there's actually quite a few people that have actually worked for the government that back that up. Now, I'm not saying I believe in it. I'm saying that's the theory that's out there.
Uh-huh.
And it's a mainstream, like in the Venn diagram of alien or no, I'm sorry, conspiracy theories, actual like large amounts of people Venn diagram of it, it's pretty big as far as
Yeah.
who people believe that.
How
So
big is it?
it's really fucking big. And so I think like could be that some of these assholes aren't nice and they're forcing kind of like a takeover, not a takeover, but they're doing experiments on the ground,
Okay.
kind of, not like abduction, but more like on the ground type, boots on the ground type of alien experiences where they're trying to be kids and pick up our most vulnerabilities, because that's, of course, kids. Again, I've probably just given them a wonderful idea by puppies.
Great.
But
Thanks.
you're welcome, aliens, or whatever you are. But I feel like inherently in my being, I feel like it's alien, and I don't know why. Like, I want to think it's demon because of the reactions that they have. But what if they're just really, really bad aliens that we are repelled by because they're bad. They're so bad. Or maybe it's a demon alien thing, or maybe there's a alien demon. Maybe we just don't even understand the names, and there's actually a close proximity of the same being that way. But I just feel like this is an alien thing, and I don't know why. I want to say it's demon, but too many of because I've read so many cases, because I'm fascinated with possession, and because I saw something like that, and it just, for the rest of my life, I was drawn to it, and I've read books and articles, and there's just no real evidence of actual like health problems like this kind of like cancers and illness and sickness from. I mean, possession is, you either die because you're possessed, or
Yeah.
you're not possessed anymore. There is no, because they either take your soul or they don't. There's no like, I developed a tumor because I was possessed. Like, I just can't wrap my brain around that, and I just might be looking at it the wrong way. But
Yeah.
in my head, it just screams alien to me, and not a good alien, like bad alien. Like, I think, like I said, I think sometimes aliens are good. I don't think we have to always look at like aliens or spirits as bad things. Sometimes I think they're good things. I think there's not every alien out there is bad, and I don't even know how many aliens are really know that we exist. But I think there's a lot of something out there. I can't imagine we're just the only body a planet, that's floating
Yeah.
around, where there's too much shit out there. So I don't know. It just, to me, it just seems like it's a being that's radiating something that's making us sick. And whether that's demon or alien, I can't say, but my feeling is alien. So, I mean, we all have our,
We all got our shit.
we got our theories. And you know what? I mean, this is going to be something that we're not going to know until we die, right? It's just going to be another, put it in the file of what
I
the
always
fuck
wonder
is
if we'll
that?
know when we die, and we'll like know all the secrets to
God,
all
I
the
can't
things, and we'll
wait.
be like interested, or if we won't know anything and it won't matter because we're dead.
Well, knowing me, I'm gonna want to know all of it. Like,
I
tell
want to
me
know,
everything.
but then like
I
if
want to
I'm
know who
dead
shot
and everything's
Kennedy.
good, then I don't want to know.
Which, I mean, I know who shot Kennedy, but it's just a big old theory. I mean, okay. I would like to make a quick recommendation now that we're done talking about Black Eyed Kids. I'm
Yeah.
reading this book, and I'm not really into this type of book. Well, I didn't think I was, but I was. He's on Twitter, and he was such a kind man, humble, and very interesting. He's written 3 books. I've only read the third one, and I'm almost to the end of it, and it's absolutely fascinating. And although he is in a political job, he is not political. So he was the head, or he wasn't the head. He, at different times, did different Secret Service positions for 5 different presidents. And his stories are like
Nice.
fascinating.
Yeah, I bet.
Going from Eisenhower up to, I believe, who was after Nixon. Anyway, he was through the impeachments. He was the guy that pulled Miss Kennedy off the car when she was trying to get Kennedy's brains off the back of the car
Okay.
to
Yeah.
save her, because the driver was about to accelerate and he knew it. And so he ran from the back car onto the car, pulled her off the back of the car while she was, because he was like, what is she doing? And she was actually, because she was trying to keep his head, like,
Yeah. Yeah, I
and she
remember
was
that.
collecting his head off the back of the car. Well, him knowing like the plan, Secret Service plans, knew that the driver's going to accelerate to get out of that scene. And sure enough, the second he launches himself onto the car and pulls her, like, she would have been thrown out of the back of the car if he had,
Uh-huh.
his stories are, and he actually has a book called Miss Kennedy and I, because at the time he was in charge of Miss Kennedy and not the president, which
Gotcha.
he was pissed because he thought he was demoted, which of course she ended up being like more popular than the president. And so it was like a huge honor for him to be her Secret Service. And she, even after her husband's death, continued to like celebrate him. Like, she was very, he is like the nicest guy, and his stories are so awesome. And right now I'm reading about damn it, what's his name? The guy after Kennedy, who was his vice president. Anyway, LBJ, Lyndon Johnson. Yeah, that's who it is. Anyway, like, is nothing to do with their policies and everything to do with just the life of what he did. And he worked 24 hours a day. And it's absolutely fucking fascinating. And
Crazy.
the book's called Five Presidents. And I think
Okay.
it's by
Yeah, I think
Clint.
I've heard of it. Yeah.
Clint Hill is the guy's name, and I'm going to now order his other two first books about the Kennedys because he was there. I mean, I'm sure it's very, he even says in these books, he references those books. And I cannot, if you are a true crime or just a nerd about just, I think anything secret. So Secret Service to me, I was like, oh, what's this about? I'm really interested in this because what the fuck do they do? And oh my gosh, like the ins and outs, especially before the technology that we have. Oh my gosh, like it's fascinating.
Nice.
I could spend 30 minutes right now talking about it, but I won't. And it was amazing, and I just loved it. I read it through my vacation, which I was not in the mood to read. So it's good when I'm actually reading while I'm not in the mood. So I cannot recommend it enough. You guys have to go and support him. He's amazing. He's literally a national treasure, like secretly. Get it?
Secret, low
Service.
key.
So
can I pull back the curtain and announce some personal stuff for a
yes,
minute
please
here?
do. I'm gonna drink while I celebrate you.
That sounds amazing. Yes. So also it's a way of saying bear with your girl because it's going to get crazy. My podcast mates are so patient and amazing too. I got a new job and I will be one of the principal librarians for the Chula Vista Public Library, which is currently 3 libraries with the 4th on the way. So instead of being part in charge of one library, I'll be pretty much all or mostly in charge of 2 libraries. So that's cool. And it's a big, big life change for the better. And so it's going to follow a move way down further south in San Diego. It's going to be awesome when we get there, but it's going to be a road to get there. I'm going to have me a 2-hour, pretty much each way per day commute for the next 4 to 8 weeks. Right now, I'm going to be selling a house. There's going to be all kinds of crazy shit happening. So if I'm not on the show, or if there's 2 of us sometimes and not 3 of us, or like whatever's going on, or you get your show on Wednesday, then you get your show on Sunday, then you get a show whenever we can get it to you, please bear with us and thank you so much. Also, I was just today found out that I was voted onto the American Library Association's first ever graphic novels and comics roundtable. It's basically one of the governing boards for an interest group for the American Library Association. So I'm very excited. Your girl is a member at large. So
Congratulations!
I'm large. Thank you. So yeah, things are looking good, but also very daunting. My patience is very thin, and I've been sick with the same ailment for 2 months. So I'm doing my best, y'all. We're all doing our best. Christy works her ass off. Yardley's like right there down the line with us and like supporting all our craziness.
On top
So
of his
thank
other
you.
millions
Thanks,
of
Deb.
podcasts, yeah.
Yes. He has a million podcasts. He's famous.
He does voiceovers for crying out loud,
famous
you guys.
voice. Yes, for sure.
Yeah. So, I mean, these aren't going to be exactly on the day, every day, but they will be a week, hopefully once a week. We're still trying to do that with maybe skipping a week or two, or no, just a week. We wouldn't skip a week or two.
Every once in a while.
Every other week sometimes. Like, we're just going to do our best to get through until Moni is in a more regulated, schedule. And I have a ton of shit that's going to be coming up. I have 3 people on my team and 2 are gone. So I'm doing helpful. 3 people's jobs right now.
Yes.
And it's not easy. And so I apologize if things get a little hodgepodge around here and lazy, but it's not because we don't care. It's because we're just literally doing, like, we've got, the hang in there poster.
Yes.
Up on our walls right now. Hang in there with the cat's claws.
We love doing this. We're committed to making it work, but it's going to have to work in different ways.
Yep. We're just going to have, there's 3 of us. We all have 3 very different lives. And sometimes we just can't line up at the same time. And that's okay. We don't have to every time. And if this was our bread and butter, it would be a little bit more regulated, but we have jobs and we all have jobs. And some of us have more than one job. And some of us have more than one job and families. So it's just a thing that we carve out of our lives, and we will continue to do that. But just it's not going to be on a schedule at this for now. And then we'll work. Sure. We'll try to get back on a better schedule next time. But if you guys have already noticed that's happening, that things aren't, I'm usually posting the show between Tuesday or Monday, really, and Friday. I at least try to get it out there before the weekend. Sometimes it's not on the Tuesdays that I promised, so sorry. But hey, this is Wednesday, so clearly it's not coming out on Tuesday.
And for Sunday, we record Sunday. Yes. So next week after this show, you will get our review of Pet Sematary. Christy, have you seen it yet?
Not yet. Don't tell me.
I'm interested to see what you think.
Don't tell me.
Because I have mixed emotions.
Okay. So. All right. I am going into it, and I haven't read one review, and I haven't seen any opinions, and I've seen limited. I know that the roles are switched. That's all I know. That it's the girl instead of the boy that bites the dust.
Yes, because they wanted an older child's perspective on death. Yes.
Yeah. That's really all I got. So that's all I know going into it, and that's what I want. I have not read one review. And as long as I can get through, I haven't watched it yet. My hope is I can't do it tomorrow night because first my daughter said, it's our last lacrosse game and it's an away game. And then she said, just kidding, it's here and it's tomorrow night. I'm like, oh, fuck. So I got to go to her lacrosse game tomorrow night. And then her lacrosse tournament is on Saturday. So basically Friday, I have to go see the movie. That's the only chance I have. Or Saturday night. But, so yeah, I will go do it. I'm excited to go do it.
Yes.
I mean, I'm getting.
It's worth watching. It's very interesting.
So, well, that's what I like. You're leaving me with, oh, really? What does that mean? And don't tell me what that means.
And speaking of black-eyed children, my 2-year-old with brown eyes is possessed by a demon. And in case you can hear her screaming, I should probably go save her dad. So.
Why? No, I'm just kidding. Let him deal with that.
It's going to spin all the way around. She's going to spew green goo. So we'll see what happens there.
Yeah, but, does it really change after they're 2? Because when they were 3, my kids were still assholes, even at 3.
Oh, my God. I don't know. I hope so, because everything is no. No, 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 no. Yeah.
You say no, yes. No, yes. Yes. Say
it's not
yes.
even no. She's extremely verbose, so it's full sentences as to why. The other day, she was trying to get in the freezer to get a piece of ice because she wants to throw it on the floor and watch it melt and make everyone break their necks. And so she's pulling the ice out, and I'm like, hey, do you want some mac and cheese? And she doesn't look at me. And I'm like, you want some mac and cheese? She doesn't look at me. Baby, say yes or no. Do you want some mac and cheese? Looks me in the face and goes, I said you need to wait.
Okay.
If that ain't a demon, I don't know. I don't know.
I'll tell this quick little story. When my angel baby was due, who is my older child, and she is so good, but she had moments. I was pregnant and packing, trying to go somewhere, packing for her, packing for me, packing, going crazy, heavily pregnant. And so we used her pack and play as a timeout, when she, when needed. And so she was throwing a fit about something, and put her in the pack and play. And we had one of those houses at the time. It was old, and so it was like the spare bedroom, or it was a master bedroom, and then it was called the gentleman's dressing room. So it was like a room before the bathroom. So it was like your bedroom. It was a historic home. So it was like your bedroom, a room, and then the closets in the bathroom. So for some reason, they called it a gentleman's dressing room. Like, really? A gentleman needs to dress in there? Like, fucking bitches
Only
have way more shit than men. So what does that mean? But anyway, so we put like we made it into a playroom basically because it's on the main floor, and it just made sense. So we had her pack and play in there, and I'm walking back and forth from the closets in the bathroom into the master bedroom, and I'm walking through there, and I'm like I smell something. And she's potty trained by now, because I'm like, I will not have another baby with one of them not being potty trained. So that was like my main goal, is to get her potty trained, and it was not a problem. She was fine. She was potty trained like a champ. So I walk over and I'm like, "Did you have an accident?" And I'm like, and I'm looking at her, and then I look over, and there is a giant log on the pack and play, like huge. And I'm like, "Why did you do that?" And she says, "As a 2-year-old, I was just pissed." And I'm like, in my head, kudos for you for using that word right.
Yeah.
But
it's hard to get mad when they use it in the right context.
Yeah,
sure.
I'm like, but you took a shit in your pack and play.
Because you were just pissed.
Because you were just pissed off. Like, she just
That's
put
what
her underwear
pets do,
down and
when they're
took a
mad at you,
crap.
your pet does that.
Yeah. So there you go, people. You wonder why they take a shit on your comforter? Well, I just delivered it to you because they were just pissed. With that, y'all.
Yeah.
Moni, would you like to share your social media panhandles? I've been in the Florida Panhandle too long. Social media handles.
Yeah, I am Rebel Moni on Twitter and Moni Bear on Instagram. And you better like cute little girls. Wait, that sounds bad. Cute kid photos, library shit, and weird selfies, because that's pretty much what I post.
Fair enough. Listen, y'all. I see all the downloads, but I don't see anybody really reaching out on social media. And I mean, on Facebook, we've got some people, and I appreciate y'all. Y'all are so great. But that's not cutting the mustard. So can we get some more people engaging on social media? I would really like that. I want to see it, because I know y'all are out there. Maybe it's just not that deep for you guys, but I would love,
see you.
Yeah, I would love to see you as a profile, engaging and talking about our posts and stuff. So you can get on our Facebook page, like Moni said, or I am Creepin' It Christy, with Christy is with a K, and that's my Instagram. And then Twitter is at creepin_it, and that is my main Twitter. So I'm sure I've just fucked and confused that up for you totally. So you're like, how am I supposed to follow you when I don't know what the fuck you're saying?
I confused it up, and I fucked it.
All you have to do is search on every platform.
We're done now.
Yeah. All you have to do is search the Creepin' It Real Show on every social media platform, and you will find it. Please come find us and say hello. Like, seriously, please do. I need it. We have so much going on in our lives that I can't be the biggest poster in the planet with everything, but I absolutely cherish when somebody reaches out and says hello. I mean, that means a lot. And
But somebody messaged us, and I messaged them back on Facebook, and they were just like, "Oh my God, I didn't think you'd actually answer. I thought you were some big podcast." And I was just like, no, we love you guys. We'll get back to you at some point." So
yeah, I mean, I love seeing who's listening to us. I mean, I can pull the stats and the reports. That's great, but that doesn't really tell me much. So I would love to hear from you guys. If you're even listening, we've probably ended it with the abortion talk. But anyway, with
we're
that,
gonna see download like partial downloads, and then everybody leaves.
yeah, with that, it's probably going to be the case. They're like, "Oh, we're talking about abortions."
That Yardley's not there. It's off the
Thank
rails.
God.
We don't need this.
Oh my
Give it
God,
back.
he would have not handled the abortion talk well.
He'd have been like, moving on.
Yeah, he'd have been like, "Can we talk about scary shit now?"
Yeah,
So with that, I would like to thank my co-host Moni for rallying, because dear God, she's suffering a lot of shit right now, and stress and sickness. So she rallied and did it, and I'm very happy, because I didn't think we'd be able to pull it off with just 2 people, but she did. So thank you.
Yes.
And
Thank you.
with everything else, I bid you guys an adieu, and we will catch ya on the flip side.
Adios.
Well, look at them go. Straight line, that's what I mean. Yeah, ignorant and blind. They should just open their minds.